Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Nuance Needed podcast. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Sam.
And we are so glad that you're here today. So we're really excited about today's episode. We are going to be talking all about being single and how to support your single friends. And if you are single and struggling, how to support yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good summary? What else are we going to talk about, Sam?
Me.
Yeah. Because
I am single. Yeah, and I have been for a while.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of layered reasons to that. And I think, while Amanda and I were chatting beforehand, we realized that we also have clients that are struggling with that and also get asked, like in our DMs or the question boxes that we put up or different things like that, about how to manage it. And also, I think socially there's a huge movement right now on women now actively choosing to stay single. And these are women who have never been in relationships, never had kids. I think, is it the 4B movement? Is that what it is? I think there's there's a specific movement that says,
let me look it up.
Because I know it actually, this idea of choosing singleness.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So it originated in South Korea in 2019.
South Korea.
And proponents refuse to date men, get married, have sex with men, or have children.
Yeah. Because South Korea, for all of its cultural elements and technological prowess and all of that, they are still an incredibly misogynistic patriarchal culture.
Yep.
And women just got sick of it. And it started this ripple effect through more Western countries as well, the United States and Europe and Australia as well. And so, yeah, I think there's kind of a cultural reckoning right now that I see on a larger scale of a lot of people ending long-term relationships, coming out of marriages, deciding that they no longer want to date. And it's interesting, as a person who marriage is something that I would like.
Yeah.
Dating is something, as I'm moving to a new city and starting all of that, I think it's definitely something that I'm thinking of more.
Yep.
But it's odd. And it's such a layered, nuanced experience.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of what brought it up.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think what's so interesting too is we know that, right, women and men are now differing a lot in their political beliefs. That is a pretty big noticeable trend that's happened. And I think a lot more women these days are college educated compared to men, are more interested in being, financially stable and things like that. And I mean, as I think men have become more conservative and women have become more liberal, I think that schism has caused a lot of women to be like, I'm not going to settle. I have choice for the first time in my life. And I think it's so interesting. We'll do an episode, I talk a lot about on my Substack and personally, right? My choice to decide to have kids. And I know a lot of people say that, why are we just talking about this right now? And it was because it wasn't a choice. Right. I mean, not only was it physically not a choice in terms of birth control, but it also, I think, wasn't a choice because it was just assumed. And I think what's interesting is we're starting to get to that point too with marriage. It is no longer just assumed that everyone wants to get married. And I think people are thinking through whether marriage is for them.
Yeah, there are so many options now because we're seen as people. It's so great. We can have our own credit cards and start our own businesses and get our own loans and live our own lives. And, any career that we want is open to us. I mean, there's still a shocking number of women around the world that do not have those freedoms, which is even more of a call to bringing attention to these issues, because this idea that we as women have choice in everything that we do is so new.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's like said enough. And I think, millennials, especially, I would say maybe like young Gen X, but I think millennial women were the first time where we were really told like it's all possible.
Yeah.
Like there's no limit. Of course there are limits, and of course there's still sexism and misogyny and patriarchy and all that.
Racism,
Racism, all of it. But it was the first time where there was like no doubt
Mm-hmm.
about what we could or could not do.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's this very empowered space that we're in. But I know for me personally, something that was really hard is like my parents are very ambitious people.
Mm-hmm.
I took that on. I have that genetically. My grandpa is an entrepreneur, a very successful business owner. And so that's in me, that ambition, that drive. And I think what's been very interesting is how few men have that themselves or want that in a partner. They say they want it, but then it feels very triggering to them at the same time. And look, listen, if there is a guy listening to this, I'm going to ask you to tolerate this conversation. I know this is very spicy, and I bet even some of you women listening are like, well, my partner doesn't do that, and I've never worried about that, and that's fine. And I'm inviting you to sit in this tension that you're feeling and recognize that there are a lot of men who are very confused and overwhelmed right now about how to match where women are and are currently going. And it is why there was, I think, was it a New York Times or Washington Post article, or maybe even Wall Street Journal, about men are becoming very religious.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I did see that men are turning more towards religion.
Yeah, men are turning more towards religion. Shocker, because religion tends to be very patriarchal, and it encourages women to submit to that role, to that positioning. And so what do you do when you feel overwhelmed and daunted by someone telling you that you need to change to catch up? You want to cling to the thing that tells you you're right, you're great, things are going so well, you don't have to change. Everybody else is the problem.
Totally.
And I say that with all the love in my heart. I'm holding your hand, right? Like right now. But it's hard, and it makes it really difficult. And I know a lot of years ago, I just kind of shut myself off from it and just started focusing on me. And I think a lot of that is definitely due to some trauma that I had in my adolescence related to dating and things that happened to me and things that were said to me and the way I was treated by a number of boys and men, often through like my teens to like my early 20s. And I really did just kind of like shut it down. And it's a very odd space to be because I feel very fulfilled in my life in a lot of ways. And I feel really proud of myself and a lot of the work that I've done and the place that I find myself. But also, I'm a human. Like I get lonely. That is something I want. I would love to get married one day. But then the longer you go without it, it gets harder to envision a man moving into my house. And there's like a funny element to that, but there's also kind of like a jarring element of like, ooh, how would I share my space? Do I want to share my space? Like I remember a number of years ago when Gwyneth Paltrow got remarried, her and her husband they kept their houses.
Yeah.
And they said like they were going to live apart. And I remember at the time, I was probably like 25 at the time. And I was like, that's so, like, why would you do that? Like, why wouldn't you want to live with your husband? Blah, blah, blah. And now almost 33, almost 34 years old, I'm like, I like my stuff. I like my decorative pieces. I like the way my home feels. I like that it's really clean. And then I hear, my some friends who I know who are in relationships or married or they live with their partner, they talk about, oh yeah, they just leave their clothes on the floor, or
Mhm.
they don't do this or they don't do that. And then there's kind of this joke of like, oh, that's just haha, like
Mhm.
that's men.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I don't want to do that though.
Yeah.
Like I'm a really responsible person who takes care of my space and invests in my space. And that matters to me. And of course, there's all the people over here that are like, you can find that. Like, don't give up,
Mhm.
but it's daunting.
I think it is so refreshing to hear you talk about this, Sam, because I don't hear that many women talk
Mm,
about being so satisfied with their life. A lot of times I hear it as there is something missing. Or even when I was single, which I was like single for so little time in the span
mm,
of things. And like
yeah.
it is laughable to like look back at myself and being like, I'm never gonna get married when I was like 26 years old. So do you have tips for people? Because this is something I think if someone is in a relationship, they struggle to not say something patronizing like, don't give up, you'll
Mm,
find your person. But also the people who are in it, I think a lot of people aren't where you are and they really struggle.
mhm.
How did you get to this place? Or what advice do you have for people maybe?
I think for a long time, I really threw myself into my career.
Mhm.
I was really busy in that way. And also there was a moment, well, longer than a moment, but very real season in my life where I had a lot of regrets about the
Mm.
career that I chose.
Mm.
And realizing that, you know, I have, for those of you that, if you've been following me for a long time, you're going to know this, but if you haven't been, this is new. I have a brother with very severe special needs. And so growing up, I was very much in a caregiver role. We could do a whole podcast on that alone. But that had a huge impact on me, and I internalized that in a lot of ways. And so, and I'm the oldest daughter, that by itself, I ended up being drawn to this idea of like helping people and being like, oh my gosh, like I'm so good at helping
Mhm.
people and whatever. So I did that, and then by the time I got through grad school and kind of got into the workforce in my mid 20s more seriously, and started doing more personal work on myself, I realized why I
Mm.
had chosen this career. And I had a lot of resentment and a lot of grief and a lot of confusion over what I should do. Should I stay in it? Should I do something else? Like this whole like internal world.
Mhm.
And I was so absorbed in that and figuring that out. I just didn't have the space to like want to take somebody on.
Mm.
And then if you listen to our Mom Talk and Mormonism episode, that was also that same age and same period where I kind of realized a lot of resistance that I had to being a part of the church and the culture, and didn't even know if I wanted to get married to somebody that was in that
Yeah.
anymore. And that's the majority here of like
Yeah.
what that would look like.
Yeah.
And like at least where I live now in the Salt Lake City area. And so for a long time, I was just like really kind of cocooned into myself.
Mhm.
There were a couple of times where people would like try to set me up with someone, or I would try to talk to someone or whatever, but it just never, nothing materialized. Like I just felt no pull to do it because I was
Mhm.
so absorbed in trying to figure myself out.
Mhm.
And, then I started a business, and then that failed. And then I was kind of in this new season of trying to figure things out. And like, so I think at a baseline, I've been in an incredibly reflective place for really like the last decade.
Mhm.
And I kind of just realized the person who I was when I was in an age when I was kind of looking for that,
Mhm.
that's not the person that I wanted to be.
Mhm.
And I also realized that that person I would have married at 21, 22, 23, I
Mhm.
don't think I would have married that same person now.
Yeah.
And so there's been like this period of really intensive self discovery. And the last like 2, 3 years, as stuff has kind of settled a little bit, I found I've been much more involved in my friendships.
Mhm.
My friendships are so important to me. I, you and I have
Mhm.
been working on this even just for the last year.
Yep.
The year before that, I just kind of threw myself into building my private practice more, building
Mhm.
my social media presence, like working on all these things. And I think the best thing that I did was I just turned it in on me.
Yeah. Used it as an opportunity and, like,
Yeah.
hearing.
And I think what is frustrating sometimes is that's still seen as like groundbreaking and controversial.
Mhm.
And I think as a woman, there's an element of this socialized belief that the fact that I did that is selfish,
Mm.
which I know through my own work is not true.
Mhm.
But I think there's a lot of women that still struggle with that, and kind of
Mhm.
this idea of like, well, but I should be working on myself in order to
Mhm.
be the best person I need to be to find someone and be in that position.
Yeah.
And what I think I'm advocating for is you don't have to do that at the same time.
Mhm.
If you are just focusing on you and figuring out where you're at, what you're wanting, what are the things that you're wanting to work on, what are the things that you're wanting to strengthen in your life,
Mhm.
you focus on that and you let yourself kind of naturally get to a space of, okay, like maybe I am ready to look at that
Mhm.
more.
Mhm.
And I think something that I find that a lot of people who will kind of question me or talk to me about this, there's such like a scarcity mindset
Yeah.
around it.
Yeah.
There's such a scarcity mindset of like, but like all the good guys are gone, or like there's
Yeah.
no more this, or like you're too old, or you're too blah. And I just think absolutely zero people are saying that to any guys.
Mhm.
They just it's just kind of this thing of like, oh, like it'll happen when it happens, man. Like,
Well, men are also given a lot more time to decide what they
yes.
want and when
Yeah.
they're ready. Like,
Hmm.
as much for as many problems as Sex in the City has, like the whole thing that Miranda says about how, right, like men just turn their light on, like they're a cab and they
Yeah.
turn their light on.
Yeah.
And then the first woman who gets in the car,
Yep.
who's good enough, that's who
Hmm.
they marry. And I think that there's a lot more space given to men on like when you're ready, you can take your time and then you'll
Right.
decide when you're ready. Where with women, yeah, because of how everything works in our society, but right, like older men date younger women, men kind
Hmm.
of go up in the possibilities and women go down in
Yeah.
possibilities the older they get in
Hmm.
the traditional sense.
Yeah. And I think it is easier for them.
Mhm.
There's like look at George Clooney.
Mhm.
He spent years literally saying, I'm a bachelor for life. I have no interest. I don't want
Mhm.
it. He meets Amal, who
Mhm.
is infinitely better than him in like every direction. And then they have kids. And now
Mhm.
he's celebrated as this
Mhm.
like, wow, look at him. Like, why George changed his mind. And
Yeah. How she changed him.
which, like, great.
Mhm.
Awesome. Why aren't women afforded that same exact level of grace
Mhm.
to move through life as they see fit?
Mhm.
It's like, I'll be honest, like, it's a lonely road. Like, I'm very lucky to have very good family that I'm really close to, really good friends that are
Mhm.
super supportive and I can go to for anything. But it's also, you have moments where you question yourself of like, did I do it wrong?
Mhm.
Have I focused on the wrong things?
Mhm.
You know, but now I know if I had gotten married at the age that I wanted to, in the
Mhm.
culture that I was a part of,
Mhm.
I would not be sitting here with you.
Mhm.
I would not be doing this. I know if I had committed to that at the age that I wanted to, where I was like a full member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and believing in that, I know that if I had gotten married to someone in that stage, I don't even know if I would have bothered with a career,
Mhm.
because I really would have just thrown myself into like, well, I'm going to be a mom. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be a wife. I'm
Mhm.
going to be that. And so in so many ways, like not to make it like too woo woo, but
Mhm.
I feel like, and this has been done with a lot of introspection and a lot of work, so if you're not there yet, you don't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel in a lot of ways the walls that I had put up as a result of my emotional trauma and trauma in general,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways saved me
Mm-hmm.
from committing to something that I know would have eventually been very, very messy
Mm-hmm.
and difficult to end.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not saying if you got married in your early 20s and now you're getting
Yeah.
divorced, I think you're even braver than me. Like, anytime a woman makes a decision to end something and start over, we all win.
Mm-hmm.
And so please know this is me sharing my story. And I mean no judgment in any way of decisions that you've made or the way you did things. I'm just sharing my perspective as someone who's been chronically single for quite some time,
Mm-hmm.
and the experience of how I've come to a place of embracing that
Mm-hmm.
and seeing it as a strength
Mm-hmm.
rather than I'm like missing some appendage,
Yeah.
because I think that's how it's framed a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Is it's this like I'm missing something, I'm missing a piece, I
Mm-hmm.
don't have it, I don't know what it is. And that's, yes, sometimes I'm lonely in that I really want a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
I want somebody to build a life with. I do. Like, I want to cheer him on. I want him to cheer me on. Like, I want that. But I wasn't ready to embrace that.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in a position where I knew how to lean into that
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability, because that is a very vulnerable space to be.
Yeah.
And so if you are someone who you're finding yourself in this position of you're really lonely, but you don't know what to do, but it's something that you really want,
Mm-hmm.
the question that I pose to you is, what do you want your life to look like?
Mm-hmm.
Your life, not anybody else's, not your life with somebody else, not, this vision of what you think it should be.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to spend time thinking of what you want for your life
Yeah.
as a grown woman, independent, with her own money, with her own dreams and her own hopes. And I want you to run with that narrative,
Mm-hmm.
because you are too incredible, you are too amazing, you are too talented to sit and spend your time wondering why you haven't been chosen,
Mm-hmm.
or why it never seems to work, or why, like, why am I lonely? Everybody else seems fine. How do you make your life not lonely?
Mm-hmm.
Do you need to be hosting more dinner parties? Do you need to
Mm-hmm.
be going, do you need to be visiting your family more? Do you need to be going on more trips? Do you need to be joining more social clubs? Like, there are so many other things to do if you are lonely than just say, I need to download Hinge again.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I'm really hearing you say, Sam, that I think is sort of my thesis of why you are happy, which is a
Mm-hmm.
weird thing to say. I don't mean that as like
I get
weird.
it.
But like I think to your point, like it is because you haven't been fighting with reality.
No.
You have been like, I'm single, whether it's what I want or what I don't want, doesn't matter. How can I live my life and love my life, whether I have a partner in the future or now or not? And you've crafted your life in the acceptance of that and knowing that you can change your mind later. But I think
Mm-hmm.
so many people wait. They don't
Mm-hmm.
live their life
Mm-mm.
because they're waiting to find a partner. They don't make friends because they feel like they need to spend all of their free time dating.
Mm-hmm.
They
Mm-hmm.
don't take the trips because they want to go on that trip with a person. They don't move because they're like, I don't want to move without without being with
Yeah.
like there's so much. Their life is like it's like being in a waiting room for years and years and years, and that is exhausting, and it prevents you from being fulfilled.
Absolutely. And, in the song Nothing New by Taylor Swift and Phoebe Bridgers, there's the line that says, I can feel time moving.
Mhm.
And that is such, if you listen to that song, it's an incredible song in so many ways. But I really resonated with that line because time is moving.
Mhm.
Time is happening. My life is happening
Mhm.
right now.
Mhm.
And
And whether you wanted to or not,
Right.
every single
Yeah.
person,
Like,
right?
yeah,
And
we have to,
yeah.
absolutely. We have to submit to this reality that life is happening. It is
Yeah.
happening right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's so much to be said about the season of life that you're in and where you're at and, this, that, and the other thing. And like, I'll give you an example. Like right now, I am right smack dab in the middle of moving.
Yeah.
I'm about to leave this place that I'm at, but it's not yet time for me to go to the place that I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
And when, I lived with my cousin for a really long time,
Mm-hmm.
and she bought a home this summer and she moved out. And so I've been by myself for a while, which has been
Mm-hmm.
fine. But I remember kind of thinking to myself, like, how can I spend this time in a way that will mean I don't have regrets looking back? Because I've realized something that I had a lot of grief about when I started doing my own personal work is I had like all of these regrets, like all of these, like, I wish I had done this. I should have done this. I should have done that. Blah, 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 right. And so part of the work that I've done working through that is that realization of, well, if I want to stop having these regrets, if I want to stop feeling this way, I have to start living my life in a way that feels authentic to me today. And so I was like, okay, like if I'm in this quiet season where I'm not really like going to be going out on the town to try to meet people because I'm on my way out, but I can't go out on the town in the new place that I want to be in to meet people. How do I take advantage of this quiet season that I'm in? And so I've been watching my comfort shows. I've been journaling more. I have this incredible view out my patio that I know I will probably never have again. And so every night I sit outside with my little evening drink, non-alcoholic, and I just enjoy my view and I just sit quiet and I encourage myself to rest. And I've been meeting up with the people from here who I am close to and taking advantage of that time and, being reflective of what I want the next season of my life to be. And I found when I finally surrendered to that, rather than spending all of this time telling myself what I should be doing or what I could be doing or how I could be doing or should be doing, I just did it. And so I think, kind of to your question of like, how do people like fill their life as it's happening? You have to get really real about where you are at right now.
So much pain is like fighting reality, right? I think we could take that as a theme of like, so, I mean, I talk to my clients about that. I do that myself all the time. I'm so guilty of if I know I'm going to move or if I know something is going to change or if I'm in a busy season, I am so bad about, I just don't live my life as it's like happening right now. And then it's like you end up being a few years down the road and you wanted to have this habit of doing something, but you were just trying to get through the next season before you started doing it. And then you never do it. And I think it's something a lot of us struggle with. It's like the metaphor that always comes up for me is like if I'm in a place, I like don't unpack. Like if I'm traveling, I'm really bad about like unpacking my stuff because I'm like, well, I'm going to leave anyway, so there's no point. But then like when you're on vacation, your room is a mess and it's like not as nice for you. So it's like that sort of thing where I'm so bad at I wait. I'm like, well, there's no point. So I may as well wait until this season is done. I may as well wait until Peyton's older. I may as well wait until this or that. And then time has passed and you weren't doing what you wanted to do. If this conversation is making you think, I could actually really use a therapist, I have great news for you. My practice, Therapy for Women Center, offers therapy in the Philadelphia area and in 43 states across the country. This is also where Sam works. So if you're interested in working with Sam or with me, we sometimes take a limited number of clients every year and we would love to work with you. Or if we're not a fit, we have, like I said, licensed therapists across the country. Learn more at therapyforwomencenter.com.
Well, I feel a little attacked about the vacation one.
You're very clean, though.
I am. Okay. Everything stays stacked on the suitcase. My stuff is contained. but a bomb goes off in my suitcase. So now that's something I'm going to have to think about a little bit more. But yeah, absolutely. It's this idea of what is so scary and upsetting about being in your life right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you absolutely that you have to stop fighting what isn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that for a really long time. Like when I worked in the hospital, like I was so bitter that I had put myself in this position where I'm traumatized every day by watching people die.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so upset at myself. Like I have held a dead baby waiting for a mom to get herself together so that she could hold it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like going through that, and I was so bitter and so angry that I was in this position. And what I realized I had to do was I had to start building the things in my life that would allow me to leave that place.
Mm-hmm.
I had to like surrender to being in that place
Mm-hmm.
and recognize it for what it is, and then spend the rest of my life outside of that working on things that could allow me to exit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, that's part of why I'm going to get emotional here in a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful to the opportunity you extended me when you hired me, because this was finally the thing
Mm-hmm.
that allowed me the chance to leave. And it gave me it made me realize I didn't hate my career. I hated what I was doing with my career.
Mm-hmm.
And those are two different things on their own.
Mm-hmm.
And so being able to build this out, and then the opportunity you gave to me to help with social media, and then now this podcast, like this saved my life in a lot of ways. I was miserable. I was so miserable when I was in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And I threw it out to the universe that I needed to do something different. And I put my head down and I took advantage of every single opportunity that came my way.
Yeah.
And I think this is an even bigger conversation around like resilience and grit and reframing and all of
Mm-hmm.
those sorts of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think to tie it back to the singleness, you get to build your life.
Mm-hmm.
You get to build an independent life that feels wonderful and happy and fulfilled and thrilling outside of a relationship. And I also want to say, like, this is pointed to people who are also in relationships right now.
I was going to say the same thing, because I think sometimes single people think that, and this can happen for anything. I think we put what we don't have on this pedestal of this will be the solution to my problems.
Mm-hmm.
And as someone who has watched dreams come true of mine and watched the bar get higher,
Mm-hmm.
it is an insane thing of how true it is that it does at the end of the day, though, start with you. I am someone who has been lonely sort of my whole life, always struggles with loneliness, still struggles with loneliness. That's just something I've decided I'll probably die with. But I think, obsessed with like getting married, because I was like, I will have a partner. I will never be lonely again. And I would just like to tell everyone, I still get lonely all the time. Like, there are different types of loneliness. And maybe some people are special in that they don't feel lonely anymore when they have a partner. But I think we put a lot of pressure on what we don't have as the solution. And if we knew that it wasn't the solution, if some of us, I'm not saying you shouldn't want a partner. Everyone should have a partner if they want a partner. And I'm so grateful for like my relationship and to be married. But I also think if we knew sometimes I try to play this game with myself of thinking about, if I had what I wanted, how would I go back and do my life differently now? Like, if I knew it was going to work out, how would I show up now? Because I think you would probably enjoy your life more if you knew it was going to like work out, right? You would probably enjoy being single more if you knew when you wanted to, like if you knew that you would eventually be in a relationship if you wanted that. And I think we can sum a lot of this up as trying to like accept where you are in the present moment and take
Yeah.
advantage of the unique season of life that you're in. And maybe there isn't something wrong with it. Maybe there are lessons for you to learn. If you like, I don't believe, I mean, I think everyone gets to choose, but I don't love the phrase, right? Everything happens for a reason, because it
Yeah.
can
It's
be,
controversial.
yeah. And it can be like really dismissive.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that you can take lessons out of where you are and you
Yes.
can find reasons. Maybe everything doesn't happen for a reason, but you can find reasons that things happen, and it can be comforting or a source of growth for you. And if that is helpful for you, why not use it?
There's two thoughts that I have when you say that. One, I think in regards to like the idea of loneliness, I think what that sums up for me is there is nothing you can do in life that will guarantee you will not feel negative things.
Yeah.
There's no version of you or version of life or amount of things that you can achieve or attain or have that will eliminate you feeling sad, lonely, embarrassed, depressed, angry, frustrated, like whatever it is. Like, so learn to accept that
Yes.
you could have the best marriage, you could be making $10 million a year, the house of your dreams, the car of your dreams, you have perfect little kids, whatever vision that is, you will still have bad days.
And I think that's a mic drop, because I truly don't think we're taught that. I know
No.
I wasn't. Like, so many of us live life like this checklist of, when I get this, I'll be happy. When I get this, I'll be happy. When I get this, I'll be happy. And there may be increasing levels of happiness as you meet your goals. But to your point, Sam, you are still a human at the end of the
Right.
day. Your problems will change and be different, but you will still be impacted by negative emotions, because to be human, to be awake, is to experience good and bad days. And to be honest, the good days only exist in context
Yes.
to the bad days. They wouldn't be good if you didn't have the lower points.
I and you, I know you've been in this position because we both do the same thing for work. When I have a client who gets married, guess what we're talking about 2 or 3 weeks after they get back from their honeymoon?
Yeah.
Dad did end up being a dick. Mom ended up saying something rude. The in-laws were the worst. This went wrong. That went wrong. They weren't happy with this. This happened. So even on this day that we're told is like, it's the happiest day of your life. Yes, they were very happy. They had these beautiful, incredible moments that felt so fulfilling. And they saw, when they saw the reception came together, they just wept with relief. And they still had moments where they were annoyed, bugged, triggered, frustrated, whatever. Anxious as
so anxiety provoking.
Like, God. So there's absolutely nothing you can do to eliminate negativity from your life and to eliminate struggle. And there's a lot of people who have looked at me and been like, well, you're single, so like you don't have to worry about this and you don't have this and you're stress-free and blah, blah, blah,
I
blah,
think
blah.
you are actually more someone who should
Yes.
talk about it, actually.
I am deeply stressed.
I don't know how anyone can look at a single person and be like, you don't have to worry about anything because you're single. Like,
you don't have anybody. Well, I can tell you right now, like I had this conversation with my mom like probably like a month or so ago when I was like really in the thick of like packing and like prepping for this move. Like I said to my mom, I said, Mom, I don't have somebody that I can say, hey, while I'm working, can you run to Lowe's and get 2 more wardrobe boxes and please purchase all of their bubble wrap?
Yeah.
I have to then, like, if I have an hour break, I was like running to the store, trying to figure out what I could fit in. Then at the end of the night, I was like, okay, like I have to do like a huge like Goodwill run. So I'm going to dump all that off and then blah, blah, blah. Like, so yes, there's like so much that I can do with my life. I have a ton of freedom. I get to like click out of my last session and park my bed on the couch and do nothing. I don't have to help anybody. Yet there are a lot of moments where I still go like, I just wish I had a man.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a very real thing. But
anyway. I think this is such a good point too, because we're going to do an episode about like deciding whether you want to have kids.
Yeah.
And I think this ties in with this too, because I think that we do this with all kinds of things. We do it with marriage. We do it with kids. I think our millennials are like being aware of how like being a parent isn't maybe
Mhm.
all it's like cracked up to be, and there
Right.
are positives and negatives to it. But I also even think on the flip side, people don't have kids. And it's a little different because if you don't have kids and you already have your life, you're not taking a gamble on
Right.
something new. But I think that's exactly right, of just like regardless what path you choose, what you do. Obviously, we're not talking about if you can't, if you can't feed yourself, if you don't have
Right.
basic needs. We're not saying
Absolutely.
your life wouldn't absolutely be better
Right.
if you didn't have your basic needs met. We're talking about like higher than that, not higher than that. I was thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We're talking about people who are like their basic needs are met. They feel secure
Mhm.
financially. And we're talking about those things that we want and
Yes.
how we put this pressure on ourselves and think that if we get this, we'll be happy.
Mhm.
And there's positives and negatives to everything that we
Yeah.
do. Like, I have more joy in my life because I have a child, but things are also a lot harder. I have like more stability in my life because I have a partner, but it comes with harder things. And that's why all we can do is say, does what I want outweigh, like, do the positives outweigh the negatives? Because there will always be negatives or more stress or some stress with every choice we make, I think.
My I think what's so like interesting about doing this podcast is like it's hard because you want to be like constantly going back and forth because
Mm-hmm.
you, my dear listener, don't want to be listening to like 10-second pauses. But sometimes like when you
Well, we
say
can edit
something,
those, Sam.
well, leave it in. It's authentic. Like it's it's just like so overwhelming, and I start thinking of all the ways in my life that I've seen that
Mm-hmm.
as like being in this position
Mm-hmm.
that for so, and when I say position I mean single, that
Mm-hmm.
for so long was seen as like, oh, that means like she's given up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I even like one of my favorite movies of all time is the 2004 masterpiece Pride and Prejudice.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that scene where Charlotte, Elizabeth's best friend, is like, I'm 27.
Mm-hmm.
I've no money and no prospects. I'm already a burden on my parents. Like, I watch that scene now and I laugh my
Yeah.
ass off
Yeah.
now that I am 33.
Mm-hmm.
However, the wonderful thing is I'm not a burden to my parents. I have money and I can like live this great life, and I go on trips and I see people and I do things, whatever. But it's taken a lot of very intentional effort
Mm-hmm.
and a heightened sense of self-awareness
Mm-hmm.
to get to a place where I could embrace all of it
Mm-hmm.
and embrace the messy of it.
Mm-hmm.
And everything that I have now in my life,
Mm-hmm.
my career, the opportunities that I've had, the opportunities that are coming, the friendships that I have, I attribute all of that to me 5-ish years ago now at this point,
Mm-hmm.
looking dead in the mirror and finally allowing myself to see everything.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of trying to justify why something wasn't really the way I thought it was, or, dismissing something, minimizing it, making something bigger than it needs to be, I finally decided to just look at everything for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And the second I did that, I was able to start making completely different decisions for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, like, I've had some serious blows in those last 5 years. Like, when my business went into the shitter, I literally was like, this is the sign that all of this is wrong. I wasn't meant to do any of this. Like, none of this works.
Yeah.
And I had to grieve it and I had to get through it
Mm-hmm.
and pick myself back up and again look in the mirror and be like, all right, you have this goal, you have this dream, you have these things you want to do. How do you do it?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of worrying about that it hasn't happened yet,
Mm-hmm.
how do I put myself in a position to be receptive of it when it does come?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the reframe that has to happen, as I think I hear so many women who are single, or they're getting out of long-term relationships, or they're in a relationship where they're not fulfilled. There's this perseveration on what should be, what we should be doing, what we wish it was, what we're mad that it is, rather than simply stating, this is the factual reality of where I'm at. And once you know that, you can create a plan that is, as you said, based in reality for how you are going to change these things. If you are in a committed relationship, if you are married and you're miserable, are you doing couples therapy? Are you doing individual therapy? What are you doing in your lives to fill some of those holes? Are you communicating? Are you telling them what you need? Are you, sharing all these thoughts, right? Like, are you actually taking intentional action to make it better? Or do you just sit in this fear of like, oh, I wish things were better. We should be in this space by now. We should be here by now, right? Whatever. If all the way on the other side of the spectrum, you're single and you're like, well, I hate myself and I'm so insecure. Okay, what are you doing to work on that? What are you doing to actually repair the relationship with yourself? If you feel intimidated at the thought of having sex with a partner, what's the internal work that you are doing to overcome those fears and those insecurities? Are you talking to your therapist about it? Are you putting yourself in positions where you're going to have to try it and you're going to have to push yourself out of that comfort zone? Are you like learning how to feed your body? Are you learning what type of movement works for you? Are you spending time understanding how you love yourself? Am I speaking about this so passionately because I've had to do the same thing? Yes. Like, that's the thing. Like, me sitting here, I promise I'm not trying to be like pontificating as if I figured it out. No, like, what I'm trying to share is some very real, raw work that I've had to do, and I'm still doing in a lot of ways, to get to this space where I can be like, okay, like, I'm ready to embrace a new type of mess by saying like, okay, like, I'm going to a new city. I'm going to have to meet new people. I'm going to have to build new relationships. I'm going to, dip my toe back into dating. That's something I've committed to doing. And, I'm sharing this so that A, you're not alone. B, it's possible. And C, it is not as far out of reach as you think it is.
I mean, I think what's so powerful too about this, Sam, is you're sharing this as someone who's still single.
Yeah.
Like, I think so many of these stories are like, I was single for so long and then I did this and this and this, and then I found my partner and everything's great now. And you're saying, I've done a lot of work on myself. I still am single, but I'm committed to, dating, and I'm still very fulfilled in my life. And it's like, I think anytime we can take action from a place of we've built a life we love and everything else is a bonus, is so great compared to, especially in like a partner situation, waiting to live our life until we find a partner.
Right.
The other thing I was going to ask you is, because I think another like interesting / hot topic is like, there's a lot of grief I think that happens when people are single and their friends all get married. And I wanted to ask you about that and like what you wish your partnered friends or partnered people knew, and advice, if whether it is someone who is in your position or whether it's someone who's getting married and has a friend who isn't.
So I think I was in a really interesting position because I was Mormon in my early 20s. So I kind of had this group of friends that between like 18 to 23, they all got married and they evaporated. Because that's what happens.
Yeah.
In the LDS religion, and I think this could be said of a lot of more fundamentalist Christian religions, friendship is not really encouraged.
I didn't think
You're
about
encouraged to go on like, go on like a couple's date or whatever. Yeah. But the emphasis really is find a spouse, build a family. a lot of people here tend to have friends that are their cousins, their
That's what I was
in-laws,
thinking.
their
Or they
like
have so many
yes.
siblings that's already built in.
Yes, they have like
Maybe
these
those people aren't lonely, Sam.
no, no.
I
They
just should have done that. That would have cured my loneliness problems.
they still have the light of Christ. That's why life is going so well for them. Wow, I just triggered myself there. So like so I was kind of in this world where that wasn't really seen as like important, this like maintaining of friendships, because then you switch church congregations when you go from being single to married, and then you kind of have
Oh,
like,
right.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah,
That's so weird.
us singles are out in the wild waiting to get paired up and mated, you know? So dark. So yeah, like you go from what's called a singles ward to a family ward. And once you're in that ward, it's like it's a built-in community. Like you just kind of naturally see the same people every Sunday. You go to the same activities. So you end up having like these very insulated worlds. And so if you're in a singles ward, it still feels very transient because you're all wanting to get married.
Right.
So anyway, all that to say, I kind of had like this group of people that I like knew of or was aware of or friends with, and they would get married and then that was just kind of it. Or they moved because one of them got a job or like whatever. So as I've gotten older and maintained kind of a core group of friends that for the most part have not gotten married, they've been in and out of relationships, but like have been single. For my close friends that have gotten married, I think something that I've been so appreciative of, and one of my closest friends, Sarah, she's going to hear this and she's going to squeal, but something that I've been so appreciative of since she is married is she still wants to actively be in my life. And we voice text multiple days in the week. She wants me to come see her. She wants to come see me. When I go visit, she's so intentional about if her husband like comes to dinner with us or like we have a night in and he's there, like she's very cognizant of her attention is like with me because like I'm her guest, I'm visiting from out of town. It's meant so much to me that she's done that because it reminds me that she's still a person.
Yeah.
She's not a person that's now like wrapped up in a marriage. And she wants to know what's going on in my life and she's involved in my life and she's rooting for me and she's cheering me on and I'm doing the same thing for her. And I think if you are married and you have a friend who is single, they want to know that they still matter.
Yeah.
That you have not lost all possible things that you could have in common because you're now married making these decisions versus your friend who's not having to have these same conversations and make decisions like you are. I think it's just so important to maintain those lines of connection so that you have an outlet as well. That you feel you have a place to go outside of your own relationship or your marriage. And I think to remember that just because you're married doesn't mean you've lost interests.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you've lost meaningful memories or connections or things that matter to you. Now, of course, like people drift apart. It happens all the time. That's part of life. But if you have someone that you are feeling close to, and you might feel a little concerned that they're pulling away because you're married and they're single or vice versa, I really encourage you to have a little bit of vulnerability with them and to open up and say like, hey, this friendship means more to me than I think you recognize. And you're someone that I would really like to keep in my life.
Yeah.
And someone that I want to have in my life. And how can we keep that connection going? I think to just remember that marriage is not an immediate, like, I just can't possibly relate to these people anymore. Like, that's a very, like, old school,
Yeah.
like, mentality.
Also, hopefully, I mean, maybe that's offensive to say hopefully, but in my ideal scenario, marriage is something that enhances your life.
Yes.
Right? Doesn't make your life smaller.
And if you are feeling like you are being isolated from people, that's something to maybe think about for a little bit. But that's for a whole different podcast all on its own.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was me just kind of ranting and raving about my thoughts on this very real issue. I think that was really
helpful, Sam. I think, as always, we start out with a topic and we end up
somewhere totally different.
We end up in a pep talk about how hard life is.
That's what you can be guaranteed on Nuance Needed. We will give you the pep talk of pep talks. We're both good at that.
Yes. Well, thank you everyone for listening. This has been such a great episode. And if you have any questions for us, feedback, episode topics, you can call into the podcast at 813-444-8683.
Yeah, we genuinely want to hear your thoughts, questions that you have, anything you want like a follow-up on. So do not hesitate. We're not going to be annoyed that you called into the number. So don't.
We're also not going to answer the phone, so you don't have to worry about that.
We're not going to be actually talking to you. I know maybe that's disappointing, but no.
Yep. All right, everyone. We will see you next week.
Yeah, bye.